Hopefully you're having a good morning. We've broke up for Christmas, but I never stop because I love what I do. So today we're going to talk about actually what nobody is telling you about content. And I had a row with somebody on Facebook. I had a huge row with somebody on Facebook yesterday about posting content. They were basically posting, telling people the fastest way to get clients is to post. And Gary Vee says this too. And let me just be very clear. Gary Vee is wrong. He is totally wrong. And I'm going to say this with full respect to Gary. I love his stuff, but posting content is the dumbest way to try and get clients. If that actually worked, why do all of the big companies have sales teams? Surely they could invest millions in content marketing and that would provide them the flow of clients that they need. They do not need a sales team. Now, I'll bring some reality to this conversation because there is a type of content, a couple of types of content that actually will help you get clients, but it won't do the work. If you think about what it takes to actually win business, and I'm not talking about selling a $97 or $497 course, right? Sure, if you got 100,000 followers and hook people in and say, I've got a course that's going to change your life, you can do that with content. That's easy peasy. But if you're trying to sell something that's 2K, 5K, 10K, 50K, 100K, content or the way we think about content is not going to cut it. And, as much as you will probably violently disagree with me. Yeah, you will violently disagree with me on this because we want to believe that this is the answer. We'd prefer to believe that if I just throw up a post, I'm only one post away from getting a client. And it's this kind of, it's like gambling almost when you think about it. If I post, somebody might see it today. Now, I'm not saying bin posting. Hopefully we can have a grown-up conversation here that just because I say it's the worst way to get leads and clients if you're selling high-value services does not mean I'm also saying don't post at all. Because posting has some usefulness. But if you sink all of your hopes for getting leads and clients into posting content, the vast majority of people will fail. Yeah, if you look at the content strategy of influencers and creators, if you try and copy them, there's a reason why only 4% of them beat the average. 4%. So if you're thinking about those odds and going, right, okay, for me to be successful here, I need 4%. I need to be in the top 4%. That's not a business you can run, trying to get to the 4% to hopefully win. So I'm not saying don't post at all. What I'm saying is that putting your business's success on your posting is foolish. Creators do this all the time and they come and they go, they have their rise and then they vanish and then they move somewhere else and then they change, right? If you want a sustainable flow of leads and clients, posting, or at least the general day-to-day posting that you're seeing and maybe doing is not the answer. And I know this is not popular, but I'm telling you the truth and I'm telling you the alternative. What I have found that has helped me get more clients is certain types of content. So I'm going to talk about these certain types of content. Firstly, the things that have helped me get more clients are not short form pieces. By that, I mean your day-to-day posting on LinkedIn, your day-to-day YouTube shorts, your TikTok reels, your TikToks, your Instagram reels. Those have not been the things that have actually got me clients. They've got me followers. they've got me engagement, but they've not been the things that have actually helped me make money. Now, some will argue that, well, if you do all of those, it increases your visibility so that people see your long form. That's not true anymore. It isn't true anymore. It used to be true. That whole method of post lots and lots of light bites to get attention, and that would convert to followers, free tips and all this kind of stuff, that would bring in you followers, and then you would convert some of those followers into leads with long form. So in other words, it's like a funnel. Lighter stuff, shorts, really punchy, quick nuggets, bring people in, get them as a follower, then you do the long form stuff, they consume the long form stuff, they become a lead. That was the old way. That doesn't work anymore. And it doesn't work anymore on LinkedIn, and it doesn't work anymore on Instagram. In fact, the people consuming long form are actually a different breed of people, because now the algorithms are all AI driven. You don't need to do all that crazy stuff to get the attention. You know, yesterday I did a live, and I've always loved doing lives. Some people don't like them, some people love them. But the people who show up connect with me. The people who stick around connect with me. The people who go, I'm bored after 39 seconds, are not my crowd. So one of the reasons why I did this live, weirdly, I did lives every day in 2023, and my business went berserk. Why? Because people could see my thinking. They could understand my logic. They could understand me in more depth. When you're doing a little post, that depth isn't there. And so I'm seriously considering that my focus is going to be in 2026 very, very live, because there's this whole, if you notice, social media goes through these phases where carousels and shorts and videos and all this stuff. But if you look at it, the platforms want to protect their ecosystem. And so whilst live right now might be scary, it might be low numbers. Yesterday was insane. I got 4,000 people watch that live. It was insane. Not immediately, over 24 hours, I got up this morning, 4,000 people had watched that live. Now, the average was about 8-9 minutes on I think a 15-20 minute video. But the depth of contact that gives me with people immediately allows people to filter. Dean's not for me. Dean is for me. I like Dean's thinking. I don't like Dean's thinking. Whereas your day-to-day posting getting attention, you're back to square one every day. The algorithm judges every piece of content on its own merits now. So you could have 1 million followers and do something they don't like, and it bombs. And then the next time you'll find it harder, and you have to basically play to what the audience wants. Now, if you think about that whole game of playing to the audience wants, I'm just going to say it as I see it. I'm here for 2 reasons. I want to help people, and I want to build my business. Those 2 things are inextricably aligned for me, right? I do not want to, and I will not, just post what people want to hear. That might mean, and it does mean, I don't get as much engagement as I used to. It means my follower count doesn't grow as much as it used to, because people would much rather hear that if you just post content, all the magical world will come to you and you'll be flooded with leads. The reality is, I see people follow that advice and they come to me broken, burned, disillusioned, and questioning their own expertise and knowledge, because they go, how can I be good at what I do and yet nobody's interested? And it's down to the algorithm decides where stuff goes. So my approach has been for the last maybe 3 or 4 months to really shift gears is I'm just going to talk about what matters. And the grown-ups, the people who see what I'm saying, get what I'm saying, will find me. The algorithm will find the people who are relevant to me. And the beauty is I don't need 10,000 customers because I'm not selling a $97 course. I'm not selling a $497 course. I am selling a actual building a business, which is not going to have, you are not going to get 100x ROI. Of $497 course is not going to, just laws of physics. A $497 course is not going to yield transformational business outcomes. That's just the reality of it. What I'm trying to do is build transformational outcomes that salespeople who are underperforming, salespeople who are not hitting their targets, salespeople who are not having calls are actually filling their pipeline. Business owners are actually understanding their value proposition, knowing how to market it, getting it out there, getting leads and getting conversations, and then helping them actually do those conversations so they convert. So what I'm doing with my content is shifting because I understand the game of short form content. Let's get fame and then convert that fame. That's how it works. Go big, get your name known everywhere, and you'll get a percentage of opportunity. And that's true. But what's not true is that everybody can do that. And that's what kind of pisses me off a little bit, really, to be honest with you. People start to follow a process and going, if I just get more followers, I want to get to 100,000, 10,000 followers. And it's like, you have no control over this. And you're basically following a path of more followers, more engagement must magically equal revenue. It doesn't. There are countless stories of people who that has not worked for. Whereas, I talked about it the other day. For most businesses, most salespeople, you don't need a huge number of people to actually make money. You need a small group of people to buy into you wholeheartedly. Now, whether that's sales or it's a small business, you need a small number of people to buy into you wholeheartedly. And that's why, for me, and what I recommend to my clients is, don't go and play these big number games, hoping it'll convert. If you can play a small numbered game and it converts, it will scale. But if you try and play a big numbers game and it doesn't convert, you're no better off. So I will say to people, if you do a live and you're on a live for 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and 11 people watch it, and of those 5 people, and I'm being really low on the numbers here, 5 people stay to the end. Those 5 people are worth more to you than 5,000 who just like a post because you've posted what works. And it's fundamental when you think about it. Am I going to go, if I believe in what I can do, if I believe in the difference I can make, do I just go with the crowd and try and just blend in by doing what works? Or do I go the other way and say, no, this is where I am, this is the message I have, and you come this way and you'll have, this is an easier and more straightforward path. Which are you going to choose? Because as I look through a lot of content that I see, I don't see any differentiation. I see people doing the same stuff, just rehashed and rebranded. I don't see people going, do you know what? I'm going to push back against this. I'm going to actually share stuff that matters, that's significant, that maybe people don't want to hear. But some people will. A small group of people. And if I look at most salespeople, most business owners, right? I look at them and I go, they need maybe 100 customers in a year. Maybe that. Maybe 100, because they're not selling these $400 things. They're actually selling something of significance. Maybe 100 customers. Maybe 20 customers. For a small business, 20 customers, $10,000 is like a lot of money. Yeah. Maybe it's 30 customers. I don't know, 3 a month, 4 a month, 5 a month. Yeah. You do not need to be posting like a crazy person to get 100 customers. Yeah. A live video on a topic that really moves the needle will do the work for you. And if you do these consistently, long form articles, we often get sucked into, if you need 100 customers, how many people do you really need to consume your stuff? Not many. And this is where we get into this confusion of assuming that if we get more people consuming our stuff, we will get more business. But often, and I know this because I've done it, often what we end up doing is we end up writing for the mass, which weakens the conversion. If you look at anybody posting content, right, you will see that as they grow, their engagement rate and their sales conversion rate goes down. Because the logic is, well, if I've got 1,000 followers and 50% of them, this is the logic. If I've got 1,000 followers and 50% of them are my ideal clients, my ICP, then I've got 500 people. But if I have 50,000 followers and say 10% of them are my ICP, now I've got 5,000. That's the logic. And it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? If I grow my followers, sure, I'm going to get more and more irrelevant followers that are not my ICP. But overall, I'll have more of my ICP following me. That sounds like brilliant logic, except for this. The content that has helped you grow to those 50,000 followers, the content that has helped you reach that bigger audience has been diluted to get those followers. So you end up appealing to such a large group that the 5,000 in there don't get it. And I've seen this over and over and over again. I've had conversations with people with 100,000 followers, 500,000 followers, 1 million followers, going, I am not converting, or the conversion is shocking. Why is that? Because the very thing that got you that broad audience, the content, is the very thing that is now stopping you actually converting. So the stuff that helps you grow doesn't necessarily help you convert. So what I'm advocating for you today is going, not just if you look at your strategy on LinkedIn or any social platform, ask yourself, where is the daily activity or weekly activity or whatever it is, where am I expecting my leads to come from? Ask yourself that honest question. How do I expect leads to come to me from what I'm doing on LinkedIn? And if your only answer is my posts, you're in a very vulnerable position. Now, most people think that, oh, that means, Dean, you're saying you have to bombard people with sales pitches. No. But it is true that for you to get a client, you have to have one successful conversation. That's not the same as outreach or spamming people with sales pitches. You have to have one successful conversation with one person to win one client. And the more you try to reach lots of people, the more difficult it becomes to have one successful conversation with one client, one potential client. Because we try to group people up and, exactly the same thing as trying to go broad with content and grow with content, we try to do with outreach. It's the same problem. It's the same sickness. I'll go and reach loads and loads of people and I'll get clients. I'll go reach loads and loads of people and get clients. It's the same problem. I do two things. I do a couple of things. First, I do post my content posts for awareness. I don't anticipate, expect, or rely on anything to come from those posts. It's about awareness. So that's the first one. The second one is I'm not doing it over Christmas, but I outreach to 5 people and start conversations with 5 people every day. I do the work, I look at their profiles, I look at what they're sharing. I am well researched and I spend the time. It takes me 30 minutes to outreach to 5 people a day. I get 1 meeting roughly every day, sometimes 2, but 1 every day. I then do my lives and my LinkedIn events like this, and that gives people a deeper way to interact with me, get to know me, get familiar with me, all of that good stuff. And then I have my newsletter email list. That is quite a chunk of work. I could probably drop 2 out of those and still sustain my pipeline, but I choose to do all of those 4 things. The lives I'm doing over Christmas and I'm not going to do as much posting. I'm going to do more lives, but I don't need, even with my business does $2.5 million a year. We're going to push to 3 million next year, right? Even with all of that size revenue, I can do that with 2 things. 2 things. And if you look at some of my posts, they don't go nuts. Some of them flop, some of them blow up. It does not matter. Yeah, I can do 2.5 million. That's what I'm trying to say here. And I'm not firing out 100 messages to people, pitching people every day. I'm sending 5, right? And my average sale price is between $3,000 and $10,000 at that point. Yeah, my corporate clients are a little bit more. They're like 30, 40, 50,000. But that's what I'm doing. So I'm not saying don't post content. I post content. But if that's what your reliance is, if you're going on LinkedIn and thinking, that's it, that's where it's going to come from, that's dangerous. I don't do that, right? I don't do that. And if you look at your favorite influencers, they don't do that either. Because if you scroll Facebook right now, you will see LinkedIn trainer after LinkedIn trainer, LinkedIn guru after LinkedIn guru. I'll just literally scroll, and literally, I bet you any money, the ads that come up, the ads that come up will be people selling LinkedIn training, right? Now, that's partly because Facebook knows I'm interested in ads, but some of these people who are posting on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and running paid ads on LinkedIn are also the same people with 150,000 followers with telling you all you need to do is post and you'll be flooded with leads. And if you just buy their course, you'll be flooded with leads. If that was true that you could actually get leads just from posting content, and it would be predictable, repeatable, scalable, all that kind of stuff, why are they not doing that? Why are they not doing that? Why does somebody, will not mention names, but why does somebody who goes on Facebook and says, last year I made $10 million from my LinkedIn, and if anybody questions me, I can show you the screenshots, says he made $10 million from his LinkedIn last year, yet is running Facebook ads to sell his $5,000 or whatever price it is course. Why? Is it because he wants to get to $15 million? Maybe. That is what I'm trying to get, the point I'm trying to make. Some of these people telling you posting content is key and that's going to change your life are also the same people using paid ads, yet boasting that they've made millions posting. If you've made millions posting, they obviously want to either scale, or their LinkedIn network, and this person has over 1 million followers, their LinkedIn network isn't enough. It's not enough. So they've made 10 million apparently, but it's not enough money. So they want more. They want 20 million? Or why can't they do that with their 1 million followers? Why can't they fill that with, if you've got 1 million followers, why do you need to run ads? You see my point. And if somebody's got 100,000 followers, why do you need to run ads? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. If you look at Gary Vee, props to him, a lot of respect for him. He inspired me in the early days of my internet and social media journey. So I've got nothing bad to say about him, other than on the whole posting content thing, he is wrong. And he's wrong because when you think about how content works, he's advocating something that has worked for him but doesn't work for the masses. It isn't a reliable business model. And if you look at how Gary makes his money, he doesn't make his money from the content. He makes money on the back end of the content. People want to work with him because of his fame. He leverages that in a different way, which doesn't necessarily work for the average person. I love Gary Vee, so I'm not saying he's a bad person or anything like that. What I'm saying is, I'm interested in how the majority of people can actually build a predictable, scalable pipeline, predictable, scalable business that, is not going to become the next Facebook, is not going to become a multi-billion-dollar business. I'm interested in how the average person prospers on the platform. And so I have to be honest and go, well, of the creators on the whole planet, and this is Goldman Sachs figures, of all the creators on planet Earth, only 4% of them ever make more than $100,000 a year. Only 4% of them. So you would have to be in the top 4% to actually repeat that model that people are advocating. 4%, top 4% on planet Earth to be able to even make what, $100,000 realistically as a business owner is not a great amount of money these days, really, let's be honest. Or as a salesperson, it's not the hugest amount of money. And that's like, to be in the top 4%, you have to get there. The average wage in the UK now is something like $50,000. So it's not really that much an uplift for doing all this work and taking all this risk of hopefully getting in the 4%. Meanwhile, you could have conversations with people, you could get a small number of people to buy into you and get better results. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's totally wrong. What I'm saying is he's advocating a model that the majority cannot achieve. And most of the creators that tell you post content are advocating a model that the majority can't achieve. And unfortunately, some people invest in that stuff and realize that's not me. If you want to be a creator and you've got the time, 10, 15 hours a week to invest in building that, go knock yourself out. But don't assume that that is the default model to make money. It's not. It is a model. Yeah, I think it's a high risk model because a platform can pull the rug from you. Somebody can lap you, trends can take off, and you can be buried. So I don't think it is the model. I think it is a model, but it's the one that people default to, and it's the one they should be the most cautious about doing, because it's the most risky, the most likely to fail. Yeah. Whereas other models are more predictable, more reliable, more sustainable, more scalable. So content that you should be doing, look at what I'm doing, right? If I'm doing it and doing well, this is what you should be doing. Post for awareness, sure. Post to get people to remember who you are, sure. Don't rely on it for leads. Go for long form, lives, events, webinars, really good. Newsletters, email list, blog, really, really strong long term, more in depth. Both of those two things create more in depth. So you might get less people, but you will get more engaged people, more diehard fans. Then think about, might not be for everybody watching me, hyper targeted outreach, where you don't go for volume, you go for deep relevance, and that will convert better than going 1,000 pitches. Start conversations 5 a day, every day, and you will have opportunity. Opportunity will come your way. And most people do not need 100 customers. They need 10, 20, 30 max. And so if you think about it, if I'm doing 5 a day, 5 a day, 5 a day, 5 a day, and I do that 50 weeks of the year, 2 weeks off, yeah, I've spoke to a lot of people. I will have a lot of opportunity there, more opportunity than I need. And that's where you have to be. How do I get a system that is reliable, predictable, it's not high risk, and I have more opportunity, more demand than I can supply. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going long form. I'm not going for volume. I'm going for quality of people. The people who stick around and watch me to the end of this live at 30 minutes, obviously either love me, hate me, they're sending me death threats, God knows what. But I'm looking for the people who invest and go, I get what Dean's saying. I understand it. I like the way he does things. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting people to buy into me by doing some of this stuff. So don't be disappointed if your views are low, your engagement's low. Don't be disappointed. It could be actually the reason why you're on the right track, because you're going for depth and quality numbers rather than volume, where you might have more fame but not a lot of fortune. Right, I'm off. Have a great day. I'll try and come back tomorrow. I might be dressed as Santa tomorrow because I'm doing a little thing for some kids at the coffee shop that I own as well. So